Welcome back to China Insight. We've been talking about rare diseases which affect around 15 million people in China. Well, another medical condition, depression, is estimated to affect tens of millions of Chinese each year. And it's thought that just 1 out of 10 people with the mental illness actually seek help. I'm now joined by Xiaojie Qin, who manages bipolar disorder, which causes extreme highs and lows. She now speaks out about depression to raise awareness and help dispel the stigma attached to it. Welcome to the show.
It's nice to be here today.
I want to ask you a little bit about your own battle with bipolar disorder. Could you tell me when you were diagnosed with it and when it started?
My first episode of depression started when I was 21. That's in 2005. And about every year I have like episode of depression on different levels. In 2010, that's when I started to feel I have highs and lows. And in 2012, I went to a local hospital and I was officially diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2012. And up until now, I still have like ups and downs. So last year when I just recovered from a major depression, I went straight up to a hypomania state where I danced for 14 hours a day with only a few hours break in between. And I lost 3 toenails. I had to go to the hospital for physical therapy for 5 weeks because I hurt my back. And at that time, last year, before I started, studying psychology and neurology, I had no idea. I just thought it's great. I'm constantly happy.
You just thought you were happy.
I just thought I was happy. Yes.
Yeah. Until, of course, there's a crash.
Yes.
Can you explain what that's like?
It's really difficult. Each episode is really different for me. So there were episodes I was stress eating, so I gained weight. There were episodes I was sleeping like 15 hours a day. There were times also I couldn't really do anything, like getting out of bed became such a huge task. It requires a lot more mental effort to do such a simple thing in life. And above all that is generally the feeling of hopelessness. People who has no idea about the depression, they tend to think it's just sadness and eventually it will get better. But in fact, it's really different. It's the feeling. I often give people the scenario of imagine yourself getting put into a little box. They put the cover back on, seal it. It's totally dark. They give you food every other day, every now and then, so you survive, you live. But it's the kind of feeling trapped and stuck long term and not knowing if you're ever going to be able to get out. And that's when you know you should go to a hospital and seek help.
You've touched on the fact that, awareness is important, that people need to understand that it's not just a sadness, that you can't just snap out of it. Right. China Insight reporter Man Pollard looked at this stigma attached to depression a little closer. Let's take a look.
October the 26th, 2011. That day, Mao Aijin's husband told her the dreadful news that their son was dead. 28-year-old Shang Yubo, a promising actor, had leapt to his death from a building the previous day. It had taken an entire day for her husband to summon up the courage to break the news to her.
因为他们知道儿子就是我的命。 回想他28年，那么一个快乐阳光的人，从来没跟我发过脾气，更不要说骂人。
But for Peng Yushan, her son's agent, the signs that Yu Bo was not himself had been there for several months.
这个病不是说常规所说的想不开，它不是想不开，其实是脑子转不动，是一种我觉得是一种吞噬了人的灵性的一种疾病。
Peng pleaded with Yu Bo to seek help from his family, but he didn't want them to worry over him. So he told them nothing, saying instead to Peng that he would be more conscientious about taking the medicine he'd been prescribed. Yu Bo had resisted taking the antidepressants because he found they made him sleepy affected his ability to remember his lines and made him put on weight. It was only after her son's suicide that Mao discovered in a conversation with his psychiatrist that he had been suffering from bipolar disorder. The condition had caused violent and sudden mood swings. One moment he'd be extremely happy, the next very low.
他是反反复复，像过山车一样的。那你像一个人整天在过山车里荡去荡来，谁受得了啊？
Mao still can't forgive herself for not realizing what was going on. She determined that she must find out more about her son's condition. In this way, she might understand how she had failed to recognize the symptoms.
有的人说呀，像虐心一样的，我就是要看，我就是要了解。我了解的越多，我就感觉到，现在对抑郁症的宣传是多么的迫在眉睫。
On the first anniversary of her son's death, Xiaojie Qin established a charity in his name. The Beijing-based foundation publishes a handbook on depression which concisely explains the causes and symptoms. Xiaojie Qin quickly became aware that her son's situation was far from unique. Many sufferers never tell their family or friends about their condition. This may help to explain why, according to official statistics, only around 10% of depression sufferers in China seek medical help. Of those that do, many in and around Beijing go to Anding Hospital, which is the country's top unit for mental illnesses. A patient here, a young lady from the northeastern province of Jilin, agrees to speak to us, but asks that we not reveal her identity. We will call her Ms. Jiang. Her doctor has told her she needs to inform her parents, but she still doesn't know how to. She also doesn't know if she wants to take the medicine she's been prescribed. So she has turned to Xiaojie Qin for advice.
你说，周边的人都那么在关心我，你们是我的父母，你们要引起我，请你们引起重视。你把话说重一点。
那要重视了，顶多就是跟着操心了，没有担心。
他什么？他做母亲、做父亲，他愿意为你操心的，因为原来他是不了解这个事儿，他只是想回避，就是说怕你搅在那，就按照他们理解，老想这个事儿，反而影响你，对不对？上一辈说了，不愿意让妈妈操心，我就说你这种孝顺，我怎么承受？做母亲的愿意给孩子操心。
Ms. Jiang's situation reminds Mao of her son, especially as the young woman has revealed that she too sometimes feels suicidal. Mao decides to travel with her to Jilin to see her parents.
我不感觉我家孩子有这种病史。
到现在接受没有？
现在说心里话，我也不接受。
我觉得应该是那种的，应该对。啥事他不释怀，就在心里装着，是不是不爆发？他不是那种。
Xiaojie Qin tells Ms. Jiang's parents that a few years ago she thought her son was fine too. But now it's too late. Ms. Jiang's parents now accept that their daughter is suffering from depression, but they insist that it's not that serious and that their daughter will get over it with time. Still in need of support from someone close to her, Ms. Jiang decides to turn to her friends. She summons up the courage to post a message about her illness on social media app WeChat, but the only response is a few thumbs up.
So we saw with this clip, Ms. Jiang's parents were kind of, is it a state of denial that they just didn't want to admit that their daughter was suffering so much? What's your opinion of that?
First of all, there's a possibility that they are not aware of this disease. So in another word, can be ignorant. That's one possibility. And the other possibility is fear. When people are afraid of something, fearful, then they turn out to face it. So it becomes avoidance. And I think in this case, it might be a combination of both, not knowing what it is and not knowing how to deal with it.
You speak out about this and you've developed your own organization, CandleX. Could you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so CandleX is recently, it's still new, and it's a project where we try to do awareness raising on bipolar disorder and depression. So we do offline campaigns and we go to different communities. The second thing that we do, it's right now we already have the design. We are going to pilot it. It's for response to depression, meaning when we feel depressed or we start to feel the signs that we are getting into that state, how do we respond to it? Because most people, again, don't know what to do. So we want to use peer groups and different therapy, like using drama, music, mindfulness practice, including meditation and yoga. Personally, I have benefited a lot from. So we want to respond to the depression, and that should be supplementary to the clinical help that the people seek.
Okay, well, I want to talk to you a little bit more about people's attitude towards depression. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll be revealing what people on the streets of Beijing have to say about it. Stay with us. Welcome back to China Insight. I've been discussing depression in China with my guest, Xiaojie Qin, who deals with bipolar disorder and now speaks out about mental illness in a bid to change the stigma. China Insight took to the streets of Beijing to ask people if they consider depression to be a disease and what advice they would have for depressed friends. Let's take a look.
Do you think depression is a disease?
No.
Yes, of course.
Why do you say that?
It's not a disease. It's a difficult period.
你觉得抑郁是一种病吗？
是。
是一种疾病。我就有抑郁症，轻度的。
是，抑郁症不是大部分都不爱说话吗？是吧？
心理有问题吧？是一种情绪吧？
抑郁，我认为不是一种病，它是一个精神状态的一阶段。
但是慢慢现在大家越来越了解之后，我觉得不要说就是觉得抑郁症怎么样，谁都可能得过抑郁症。正视它，然后面对它，慢慢就会好的。
Some mixed reactions there. What do you think? What would you say to those people that say it's not a disease?
If they do not even realize it's an illness, first of all, they don't seek help. Second of all, they don't pay enough attention to prevent. And third of all, and if other people feels that way and they deal with them in an incorrect way, they can potentially cause some really serious damage to the people who are depressed.
If the science is there,
yes.
How do we change people's perceptions? How do we get those people to say, yes, 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 yes,
yeah,
it's a disease?
Yeah, I think first of all, awareness raising is really important, and that's why I think in China what we can do is for students who are at this highest percentage of onset of mental illness to get trained in class about the basic things on mental illness. So that's one thing that the school can do. And then the second thing, as a community where I live here in Beijing, and my community is a really old community, every day I walk out of my hutong, we see signs about reproductive health, about oral hygiene, that kind of thing. It will be really nice sometimes to see like mental illness as one of the posters there, so people can every day in touch with it. And on those mass media, say on the subway, on buses, on airplanes, if they have like 1 minute short of those awareness reason video clips, that would be also really good. So small steps, and collectively, if all those clinical psychologists, the practitioners on the medical side, and all those people like on the campaign side, and people who are on the responding side can all work together, then we will see a change. And that's why I think it's really nice to be in the studio. We can talk about it and reaches out to so many people who might be watching right now, might be suffering. And I would encourage them right now to go seek help. And just 3 simple words: I need help. Tell that to your friends, your family, your boss, your co-workers, and go to the hospital. And then things will start to change.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, Xiaojie. Very brave of you.
Thank you.
If you have any comments or questions, email us at chinainsight@cctv.com or find us on Facebook, WeChat and Weibo. And we'll see you next time for more discussions and stories on China out of China. Goodbye.